All right, welcome to another episode of The Only Playbook, guys. Episode 24, Week 12 recap. Another week is in the books. Some highs, some lows, and some in-betweens. I probably sound nasally because I am sick again. Can't stay off of the injury report myself. So who am I to knock on my own players when they get hurt, right? It's Sweet Car. I got to show it virtually today so you guys don't get sick. How are you guys doing?
I'm good, man. I'm good.
Yeah, I'm not sick. I feel great so far, but hopefully I'll find out in 3 days if I got anything from you since we watched football together.
Yeah, God, I hope you didn't, because 3-4 days away is New York, so we do not want to be sick for that. Again, a lot of big things happened this week. Really, kind of tides turning for certain teams. We're heading into pivotal time. Are they, contenders or pretenders? Are playoffs still in sight, or is it pretty much looking forward to the draft? That's kind of the topic of discussion as week 12 wraps up. Again, we're The Only Playbook. If you like our content, if you enjoy what we talk about, give us a shout on social media. We're on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter at The Only Playbook. On Twitter is Only Playbook. And then we're on all the podcast apps, right? So Apple, Google, Spotify, YouTube, Anchor FM. So no matter where you want to listen to our podcast, you certainly will be able to. So appreciate the love, guys. Let's jump into it. Shishot, another week, another slew of injuries. I don't want you to start off with CMC, even though I know you probably are going to, but give us the rundown.
Yeah, he's number one on the list. He's on the IR. So I don't know what else to say. It's done for season. Why did you even? It upsets me because it's the same thing that happened last year, right? Like he comes in and then the same hamstring. So this is a serious concern next year. I don't even know if he's going to go in the top 8 if this is the result of every season. So yeah, I mean, there's nothing more to be said. Chuba Hubbard's next up again. Get those 12 to 14 points. Whatever. Next person. Dalvin Cook is the next person. He's day-to-day per Zimmer, but Zimmer tends to just downplay his players' injuries all the time. He tore his labrum and he dislocated his shoulder. Yeah. So yeah, that doesn't seem like a day-to-day situation.
That's not happened to me on a day-to-day, so I don't know if that's anybody else.
Yeah, no. When there's a fully healthy Madison right there who does the same thing, I don't see why they would just throw Dalvin Cook in there, assuming he does something different. Madison doesn't.
Who does the same thing and looks like Dalvin Cook as well at times.
Honestly, he's had some better runs than Dalvin Cook, in my opinion. But who knows?
And we also have the third fastest running back in Madden still, and so he needs to be unleashed.
True. He will be. You'll see a lot more of him. Zeke, his knee, and CeeDee Lamb with a concussion. They were full participants today, so that doesn't seem to be a problem. I think Zeke is just fighting for a starting job at this point. He's doing whatever he can to make sure he doesn't lose that job. So I think he is injured and he is playing through an injury, but he's like, no, I got this. I'll just power through it. But I expect a lot more touches for Pollard in that game, whether Zeke starts or not. Alvin Kamara actually practiced for the first time in like 3 weeks. He was a limited participant today. Mark Ingram was a full practice, and Taysom Hill was a full practice, and Taysom Hill's getting the start at quarterback. So we'll see a lot of running for the next couple of weeks. I don't know who's going to be running, but there's going to be a lot of it. And then per the head coach of the Raiders, Rich Bashishaya or whatever, Darren Waller is week to week with a knee injury. He had that IT band stretching. We'll talk about Shova's going to give you some players you could probably replace him for that couple of weeks. But he is week to week, not day to day. So he probably will miss this week, but we don't know. It's freaking Monday. The week's not even over yet. So
just getting started.
Just getting started. We'll see how it goes. Hopefully we're coherent this weekend in order to set our lineups.
Oh God.
Or that could be just like the big long con somebody could be playing. I don't know. I'm not going to say who. But
I'm just going to get you all messed up and then make you guys start the dumbest people, tank, and then I get in the playoffs. Strat.
There you go. Whatever works. You've seen plenty of episodes of the league. There's got to be some tricks in there. Swift. Swift. It's hard to say. It's hard to say that he'll play. Were the quotations used by Dan Campbell? But I just got an update maybe like 45 minutes ago that he's likely out this week. So Jamal Williams should be on your roster. I, for one, had him for like 9 weeks and I released him 2 weeks ago. So that worked out pretty well. Logan Thomas I did the opposite of Logan Thomas. He's done absolutely nothing for me. I've never started him, but I held on to him for 3 weeks after the injury. So yeah, he should be ready to go for tonight's game against Seattle. We'll see how he's doing after that injury. Jalen Hurts has a sore ankle. Apparently, he sprained the ankle, got it taped up sometime during the game, which the camera did not catch. And the Eagles have to play the Jets, and then they have a bye week, so it really gives them a question. So should they just rest him for 14 days and then see if he'll play? But then then again, the Jets aren't guaranteed anymore. They're not a guaranteed L. So I don't know. They might have to kind of like make him a pocket passer, and I don't know how he's going to do by doing that. So
their backup's Gardner Minshew.
Yeah.
Minshew season.
Yeah. He could very well start and run the same plays Jalen Hurts does, just won't be as fast. So
yeah.
Deebo Samuel, he got an MRI like a couple of hours ago on his groin. The results aren't out yet. Apparently, it's not very major, but he is likely to miss time, so he's probably not going to play his upcoming game. So good news for people fighting for that playoff spot. Justin Fields and Allen Robinson, they were out on the practice field, but they did not practice with their teammates. They were out practicing separately, but looks like they're able to move around and whatnot. So Allen Robinson should be incoming. If you're high on the playoff spot and you have some players you can throw around, Allen Robinson is likely in free agency right now. So there's nothing wrong with picking him up if you got players like, some randos just chilling in your bench. It's time to get rid of those randos and get ready for the playoffs. Amari Cooper, he's doing well apparently, but he's still not at practice. So I'm assuming he's still positive. He must have had a pretty bad case of COVID because
this is a long time. Yeah.
Yeah, it's been 2 weeks. It's going to be 2 weeks. So yeah, he's probably just really sick. Hopefully, he makes a quick recovery. Cliff Kingsbury said he's hopeful Murray and Hopkins play Sunday. I don't know why they're still debating. I'm sure they'll play, but there's still a chance they don't play, which is crazy because it's been so long. Or it feels
they're
like
just coming off a bye, right?
Yeah, they're just coming off a bye. So you would think they just got fully healthy, but Hopkins hamstring seems like a real problem. That's a serious problem he's got going on. So I don't know what's going on with Hopkins. I would stay away from that for the time being. But Murray is an immediate start as soon as he steps foot on the field. So yeah, let's see if he comes back. Kareem Hunt is the last player I'm going to talk about. Apparently his usage was intentional. They came out and said because his dad started complaining. All these dads complaining about Baker Mayfield. So yeah, apparently he only got 23 total snaps. That's not even touches. That's just snaps, which is very little. That's like probably 30% of the game. Yeah, they were frustrated. All the owners, fantasy owners, parents, everybody are frustrated. But that was game plan. That was intentional. So he should be unleashed next week. This game they just kind of wanted to ease him in. But yeah, that's the updates.
It's funny about the Baker Mayfield thing. That reminds me of like Baker Mayfield in high school and college was probably like the guy that if your daughter, the daughter of a dad didn't want you to date, right? And now he's grown up and he's got teammates and he's still got dads on his case about not dating his sons, but not playing with the sons. I mean, he's a problem for everybody. I mean, that's insane.
Yeah. I'm sure he's a nice guy, but like he is not helping his teammates at all right now. He needs to just sit down and rest.
Yeah, bro. Like put your ego aside and do what's right for the team if you really do care about winning. And right now you're not helping them. So we'll obviously jump into that game. Let's kick off the recaps here, Shovit. I hate to be the guy, but the first game on the board is the Steelers. They traveled to Cincinnati to take on the Bengals here, and the Bengals absolutely stomped them 41-10 final. No defense for the Steelers. Cincinnati covers the 3.5-point spread. The over 45 hits. Gosh, what happened? I mean, the Steelers did get some of their defensive players back from last week from injuries, but it didn't seem like it really mattered.
Yeah, we got TJ Watt back. We got Fitzpatrick back. And that was sort of the reason why in week 2 we lost against the Bengals was we didn't have those guys. And coming out of the game, the Bengals had a plan, and the plan was to give it to Joe Mixon. And Joe Mixon, with 28 carries, 165 yards, 2 touchdowns. The Steelers had no answer whatsoever. There's a linebacker that the Steelers have who I absolutely just can't stand. His name is Devin Bush. this guy is just he couldn't stop Eckler last week. He's terrible against the run. He just needs to go. We just at this point it's looking like the personnel just isn't there for the Steelers. And the key to winning was going to be Ben Roethlisberger and the offense kind of keeping up with the Bengals, and he wasn't able to do that either. They played. Ben Roethlisberger came into the game with 5 games with no interceptions, comes out and throws 2 interceptions, and just not a solid game by the offense. Guys like Najee Harris didn't get there. What we're used to, the production we're used to seeing from Najee Harris, 8 carries, 23 yards. The only 2 bright things from the Steelers is Deontay Johnson, obviously 9 receptions, 95 yards. He's getting his. And then Pat Freiermuth, given Ebron out, got a touchdown. It was garbage time, but it's good to see him make these kind of catches that makes him a valuable start moving forward. But I just think it's rebuilding time, man. I don't see any bright star, like anything to kind of move forward and say, okay, maybe we can make the playoffs. It's just there's no hope at this point.
Yeah. Couple things. I want to add a couple things. Yeah, Joe Mixon actually has 12 touchdowns in his last 8 games. If it wasn't for Jonathan Taylor, this would be probably the headline of fantasy football. He would be probably the top running back over that span. And then the opposite, Najee Harris, he was probably the biggest non-injury bust of the week. All these other players that we lost a lot of good players this week, and they didn't produce, rightly so. But Najee Harris really had no explanation for not producing, because they do use him in the passing down too. About 19 touches is what he had one time. So it was kind of unexpected. The Steelers was just not able to fire on any cylinders. And like you said, one bright spot, Freiermuth, that was his first touchdown, not inside the 10-yard line or not inside the 5-yard line or something of that matter. This was over 15 yards. So it's nice to see them actually, because these plays usually go to Claypool, and then when it's unsuccessful, they go to Freiermuth. But this was one of the first times that they actually used long distance plays for Freiermuth. So.
Yeah. Chauvin, as a Steelers fan, when you talk about personnel, obviously there's cornerstones on this team, right? On the offensive side, you have guys you can rebuild around. Yeah, Najee Harris is a cornerstone. Deontay Johnson's probably not going anywhere. You mentioned Freiermuth. Claypool, we still like what we see. We know Big Ben's at the tail end of his days, right? And then on the defensive side, you obviously still have guys like TJ Watt and Minkah Fitzpatrick and Joe Hayden. You can still build around, but is Steelers Nation rumbling in any sense for like a coaching change or anything like that? Or are you guys still fully on board with Tomlin? I'm just trying to get a gauge of where your guys' heads are at.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of fire Tomlin notions, and they brought in the offensive coordinator Matt Canada, and when the games are good, then Steelers Twitter is just excited that okay, we got things going and things are great. Yeah. And then they're bad, it's fire Canada, fire Tomlin. I'm not going to go down that route. I think the Steelers have this whole foundation issue, which with their offensive line. So I think that, because you mentioned a lot of great players, those are players that can make big plays, and that's kind of what the Steelers have been doing to win games, is they make plays and they get turnovers to allow the Steelers to win. But when you don't have a good, solid offensive line to be able to, or a good defensive line to, they do have a defensive line, but just be able to stop the run, which they haven't been able to do, and giving Big Ben protection, Najee Harris the running lanes, you're just not going to win games that way. So I'm not going to say that they need to make a coaching change. I think it's more of setting the foundation for next year at this point.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. Just kind of wanted to gauge where Steelers Nations was at with that, but it's going to be tough. I mean, Pittsburgh has to play the Ravens next week, so another divisional matchup. It's still only a couple games out of the top spot, right? So definitely not out of it, but it's tough the way they're trending. And the Bengals take on the Chargers next week, so a battle of a couple of good offenses there. Moving on to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they had
one last thing. TJ Watt was put into the COVID list this morning, so that's something definitely important to look out for.
Okay, yeah, something to note there. I know they had Big Ben on COVID list, and he was gone for a while, so we'll see. The Buccaneers took on the Colts this week. Buccaneers coming in as 3-point favorites in a tough environment to take on Indianapolis. The Colts have strung along like 3 or 4 great victories recently, so they were kind of hot, but back and forth game. Tampa Bay comes away victorious. I mean, Tom Brady literally only needed one weapon this game to lead the team to success, winning 38-31, covering a 3-point spread, over 53 hit. And the story of this game was none other than Mr. Lenny Fournette himself.
Leonard Fournette with 3 touchdowns, right? That, I mean,
Four.
3 rushing, 1 receiving touchdown. Solid game by the Buccaneers. There were times where Colts looked like they could win this game, but then they had the turnovers, the fumble, the interception by Carson Wentz where Antoine Winfield Jr. goes in and grabs it from looked kind of like he kind of pushed a little bit, but was able to sort of look like Moss trying to get that interception. So just Buccaneers just fighting it out and making all the right plays to win the game.
Yeah, the Bucs did a great job. They needed that one bad. If they had lost this one too, then it's like question marks everywhere for Tom Brady. But yeah, he solidified that role again. A couple of things of note. The Colts had allowed the fewest fantasy points to running backs before that rampage. And what's funny is the Bucs did to the Colts what the Colts just did to the Bills. So the 5 total touchdowns from the Buccaneers was all the Colts had allowed all season, 5 touchdowns. So that's the same thing that happened last week to the Colts, where they only had allowed, the Bills, where the Bills had only allowed 5 rushing touchdowns all season. And then the Colts added 5. So if this trajectory continues, whoever plays the Buccaneers next is going to score 5 touchdowns. But they did. It was just, the Bucs probably watched the game script of the Colts and they were like, we're going to do that exact same thing and just beat them. And then the last thing I got to talk about is Michael Pittman had too many drops this game. He had 2 major drops. One of them was a first down. So they couldn't really crawl out of a hole. And you're letting a 5'10" dude moss you, bro. Come on. Like, I don't even think that was a pass interference, to be honest, because it was so bang bang. And the way Pittman kind of just did that job poorly made it kind of look like a pass interference. But what are you going to do? That you can't really blame the cornerback in that situation or the safety.
I was looking at that drive. On that drive, they didn't run the ball once. They had 7 passes, and then the last one obviously was an interception. But I feel like if you're up, and they were up 21-24 in the end of the third quarter, if you're up against the Buccaneers and the running game has been well for you, you should have continued running the ball with Jonathan Taylor. Because if you look at that drive where they tied the game 31-31, there's about 10 plays. 8 of them are running, and then 2 of them are passing. And the passes are like, 10-yard dump offs that I think Doyle and maybe T.Y. Hilton caught. So they kind of went away from that, and I think they shot themselves in the foot by not continuing to feed Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah, I mean, the Buccaneers obviously probably came in with the game plan to stop him. That's why he didn't have the big runs early on, and I think that kind of switched the game script a little bit for Carson Wentz to have to throw the ball a little bit more. But you're right. I mean, at no point were they out of the game to where they didn't have to give Jonathan Taylor the ball, and it's interesting to see him only get 16 touches when he's a workhorse at this point, and there's really no excuse for him not touching the ball 20 plus times. So, yeah, I mean, again, he still had a great game. He still had the touchdowns, went over 80 yards. We talked about the other side, Fournette, obviously the big game, but Gronkowski looked good, 7 for 123 on 10 targets, led the team. Godwin only 4 for 24 and Evans only 3 for 16. So the receivers really didn't do anything there. It was tight ends and running backs, kind of Tom Brady's MO from the Patriot days. So hopefully with Antonio Brown coming back next week, the receiving core can get going again. They are going to have to take on the Falcons. So an easy bounce back victory there for them, or I guess another win for them on the board possibly, and the Colts take on the Texans, so they have an opportunity to bounce back next week. But the Panthers were the next game on the board. They traveled to Miami to take on the Dolphins. Panthers came in with Cam Newton riding high. CMC was back, and things could possibly go right for them with this defense finally figuring things out, but absolutely not. It was one of the worst performances I'd ever seen by a quarterback, I think, in recent years. 33-10, the Dolphins absolutely destroy the Panthers. Dolphins came in at 2.5-point dogs, win the game outright. The over 42 hits. I mean, Cam Newton was so bad. I mean, this is one of the worst performances I've ever seen.
Yeah, I don't even know what to say about the Panthers side of the field. I feel like their defense still played pretty well. I guess they couldn't get Tua to make the mistakes that he typically does. Tua played pretty well against like the number 2 defense. And then Waddle is a PPR monster. He was actually wide receiver 1 this week in PPR. So yeah, the Dolphins getting it down. They just won 3 straight games, and the most recent game being against the number 2 defense. So I mean they're up there against being a spoiler for the rest of the season. But as far as the Panthers go, I don't know I don't know what to tell you. I don't know who's going to start this upcoming week. Darnold's looking like he's back at practice doing some work. I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say about the Panthers.
Yeah, dude, Cam Newton, you get your chance to come back to a team. You got cut by the Patriots. You play with a QB rating of 5.1. That's just not going to get the job done. 2 interceptions, only 92 yards. So really just poor performance by Cam Newton, and the running game didn't help either. On the Dolphins side, though, man, Tua, efficient, right? 27 for 31, looking really, really just doing what needs to be done to win the games. And then the Miami Dolphins just love running that wildcat, man, giving it to Myles Gaskin with 2 touchdowns. I mean, he only had 49 yards, average 3.1 per attempt, but it's good to see Myles Gaskin getting those goal line carries and getting sort of the trust from the offensive coordinator to feed him the ball to get the touchdown.
Yeah, interesting note. They signed Phil Lindsay after being cut by the Texans, and he steps in and gets 12 carries himself. So I guess maybe they liked what they saw from Philip Lindsay to pick him up right immediately after getting cut. So something to note, but you're right. There is a lot of wildcatting for them in the red zone where they prefer that the running back or somebody else takes the snaps over Tua, and Gaskin seems to be the guy that's been the benefactor. So 2 touchdowns, you got to like that. You mentioned Waddle. He's a beast. Another kind of disappointing week for Gesicki from a tight end perspective. I know tight ends are thin and they're so hit or miss, but this guy solidified himself, at least I thought, as far as consistency went. But he had that goose egg a couple weeks back, and now only 3 catches for 17 yards. So Tua is efficient, but he does like spreading the ball around, right? So I don't know what that bodes for fantasy, but at least Waddle seems like the one guy that you can consistently rely on there. The Panthers head into a bye at 5-7. Like you mentioned, a lot of question marks there. They have no identity. They had this blip radar moment where Cam came back and they're like, oh my God, they're resurging. Their identity's back to what it once was. Now CMC's out for the season. You don't know if Cam's even worth starting anymore. Maybe he is, but you mentioned Darnold. So there's a lot of decisions to be made. And it seems like at this point, it's really, really difficult to see a world in which the Panthers can bounce back from all of this adversity and like sneak into the playoffs. So it's tough for them. The Dolphins get the Giants next week. So the Dolphins, who have kind of impressively had 3 good performances in a row, get another opportunity to win another game. So good matchup for them next week. The Titans traveled to New England to take on the Patriots with a decimated team. Patriots came in at 7-point favorites. Over under was 43.5, and the Patriots covered easily, 36-13, dominant performance at home, over 43 covers. It kind of exactly happened what we expected to happen, I guess, right? The Titans, they were just like on paper so decimated with injuries. There was nobody there that you even thought was like, oh, this guy could be the difference factor in leading us a surprising upset victory. I mean, there was nobody on paper that had that opportunity to do it. And I think that was exactly evident in the way the game played. What'd you guys think?
Yeah, 2 guys to kind of mention on the Titans side, though, is Dontrell Hilliard and D'Onta Foreman, right? D'Onta Foreman, we kind of knew that he would probably have, he had an upside of being RB1. He had more carries than Dontrell. Hilliard did 19 carries. Hilliard had 12. Both rushed for over 100 yards. Hilliard comes out with a touchdown. Kind of sucks though, because I wanted Foreman to be the only guy, kind of like how what's his name? I forget the running back, the king.
Derrick Henry.
Yeah, Henry, before he got injured. I kind of wanted him to be that guy. But Dontrell Hilliard coming in and sort of just making it a running back committee role. But the Patriots, man, they just look good. But go ahead, Sas.
Oh no. So I was kind of watching the game script. So Foreman, I still believe is the guy. Hilliard is a passing down guy. He's been back-to-back top 12 in PPR for back-to-back days or back-to-back games. That's a huge deal. Like he's getting a lot of targets, and I think that's his role. At the later parts of the game, he had a majority of his carries at the end. You're kind of basically just seeing what he can do on the ground versus just catching at the end. But I think you don't want to get too cute here. Like if you're playing in a non-PPR league, which there's not many, but you would probably not play Hilliard because his role is just solidified as a catching guy for the most part. So if something were to happen to Foreman or if Foreman were to go down, this guy would be huge. But until then, if you had to play one of them, I would probably still go Foreman because Foreman would have he had 19 carries and a losing game script. If they're up, it looks like they trust him to handle the ball. So I still haven't given up on the whole Foreman experiment. I feel like with the easy schedule coming up, it could be a sneaky play as a flex play in the playoffs.
And the thing is, like, their receiving core doesn't really their game script is to run the ball more. And with AJ Brown kind of banged up, Julio Jones, and Westbrook is the only guy that's there to catch the balls. So yeah, I can see them run the ball more. And so your logic makes sense to go with Deontay Foreman. But going on the Patriots side, dude, that team just looks just efficient. Solid, right? And here's a fun fact. In that 6-game winning streak that they've had, Mac Jones has only been pressured 22.9% of his snaps, his dropbacks. So that's an efficient offensive lineman. We talk about foundation that the Steelers don't have. This team has that foundation. And for a rookie quarterback, if you want your rookie quarterback to not make mistakes, make sure that he's not getting rushed to make those throws, and so that he can be in a rhythm. So, it seems like all teams need to follow this strategy. Like, have a solid offensive line, and you might just be okay.
Easier said than done, man. That's why the offensive linemen go like number 1, number 2, number 3 whenever there's good ones overall in like just NFL drafts. They're just so hard to find, and it's hard to find 5 of them. But that's the ultimate goal. Everything, like, these are NFL players, right? Like they've been good their whole life. They got here for a reason. So yeah, with a good offensive line, they could unleash what they're so good at. But not every team gets that opportunity. I did want to point out Stevenson though. He's establishing a significant role on that offense, which hurts Harris. They could be a tandem, and they are a tandem. But Harris would be doing much better if it wasn't for Stevenson, and Stevenson would be doing much better if it wasn't for Harris. They're kind of like vulturing each other at this point, and that's just something to watch.
Yeah, exactly all of the above. Like you guys said, it's tough for the Titans, who are a run-heavy offense with the running back that they can afford to do that with, not have that running back anymore and still attempt to do that, right? They were down a lot of this game, and they ran the ball 39 times. They only threw it 21 times, right? So they firmly believe that continuing to run the ball was going to lead to success. But even though the guys had good rushing games, I just think they were behind the 8 ball too early. Mac Jones converting too many third downs because of his accuracy, right? Extending drives. So the Titans ran the ball well, but they ran the ball well in a game where they probably, needed to throw the ball downfield, and the inabilities with the lack of playmaking on the outside. It was really tough for them. So they head into a bye. So hopefully we can get some injury updates and some health their way. And hopefully they can bounce back and get back to the Titans that strung along 6 impressive victories. But the New England has a great game next week. They're they're Monday night at Buffalo. So a big showdown for them in the division. That'll be a fun game to watch. The next game on the board was another divisional game here. The Eagles traveled to New York to take on the Giants. Shishot, your survivor picks, you took the Eagles this game after the impressive wins that they had strung along and how much their running offense looked impressive the last couple of weeks, but a very ugly game. The Giants win this one 13-7 final. Giants cover the 3.5-point dog spread and win the game outright. Over under was 45.5. Didn't even get anywhere close. God, what went wrong here for Philly?
Everything went wrong for Philly. It was just a terrible game. Hurts threw 3 picks. He couldn't get any running lanes established. That seems to be his bread and butter. The reason the defense kind of slacks off on covering him is because of his running abilities, and he wasn't able to do very much of that this game. So just left a lot of room for coverage, and they covered well. And he threw some bad picks, tried to make some plays that weren't there. And when he tried to make plays that were there, Jalen Reagor decided he doesn't want to play football anymore.
That dude needs to get caught.
Yeah, it's just there's no excuse for that. That's a game-winning touchdown. That game's over, right? And he dropped it just fair and square twice in one drive. One good thing for Philadelphia is they don't have to make any trips on an airplane for the rest of the season. They're all local drives. So wow. I don't know how you want to interpret that, but that's a lot of sleep. That's a lot of regularity. That's a lot of consistency. And personally, like, that affects me when I have to like travel here, go there for an interview, go do that, go do that. You kind of just don't get in this rhythm. Well, now, this is like, now we're kind of scraping different areas but like I mentioned all the time, every variable is important in football, and they get the comfort of just being at home. Basically, even on their road games, they're going to be coming back home. So Eagles have a very, very comfortable rest of the season, and they get to do it all on the road or with a bus rather than having to fly to different parts of the country.
Yeah, that Rieger, the first drop that he had, I feel like there was a little bit of pass interference where he went up to get the ball, got pushed a little bit. So it kind of like changed where the ball was going to be, where he thought the ball was going to come to, and he wasn't able to catch the ball, hit him straight in his helmet. So I think that was kind of explainable or excusable. But the second one, where you're right in the end zone, you just have to catch it. You get up there to catch the ball. You're not even tackled before you catch the ball. No pass interference. You need to make that grab, especially with Devontae Smith being who he is and being looking like the number one receiver as a rookie. You have something to prove to your team, and you just don't do it. That's a terrible, I guess show out of. For Rieger. On the other side, the Giants, man, their defense actually might not be that bad. They've got a solid line, and I feel like maybe that's why they were able to not allow the Eagles to run the ball efficiently because of that defense. They just got a new offensive coordinator, so the offense, only scored 13 points. Freddie Kitchens, Daniel Jones and company didn't really have a solid game, but their defense was able to force the turnovers against the Eagles, fumbles, and 3 interceptions. So that's kind of what allowed them to win. And maybe that's the recipe moving forward. Eagles have a really good, favorable schedule, but I wouldn't rule out the Giants either. If they can get their offense to be a little bit more efficient, score some points, they could be a threat to at least for wild card contention.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, ugly game on both sides, but Philadelphia is the better team. They lost by 6 points and they had 4 turnovers where the Giants didn't have any, right? If you're going to lose a turnover battle 4-0, you're typically not going to win the game. And the fact that they still had an opportunity at the end with Jalen Rieger and he dropped the ball, I mean, that tells you everything you need to know. The Giants, I mean, their offense, as much as, they won this game, their offense didn't do anything really. I mean, Saquon Barkley, not much. I mean, the receiving core, not much. The only thing they can take away from that is they protected the football, and sometimes you come away victorious. So they get a winnable game next week at the Miami Dolphins, who have played well. Eagles have an opportunity to bounce back though next week. They travel not very far, like Shishod mentioned. They're going to take on the Jets in New Jersey, so still staying in that Northeast area, and in an easier test in the Jets. So still have hopes alive for both of these guys. I mean, 7 losses right now. We'll get to it, but the Vikings with 6 losses are the 7th seed. So, right, the NFC is still wide open regardless of the amount of losses we see in some of these teams' records. The next game on the board was the Atlanta Falcons. They traveled to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Shovit, your survivor pick was the Atlanta Falcons this week, and they prevailed 21-14 on the road. They cover the 2-point spread under 46. The Jacksonville Jaguars continue to put out a putrid product of football on the field. I mean, it's just uglier and uglier to watch every week. And Miami and the Atlanta Falcons took advantage of that and came away victorious. What'd you guys like?
Yeah, man, the Falcons, we know that they are able to score and be, I guess they've got the personnel to be able to score with guys like Cordell Patterson, Kyle Pitts, and the Jaguars just don't have that. They don't have a good receiving core. James Robinson is the best player on that team, and he did have a fumble, and after he fumbled, looks like he didn't get back on the field for most of the second half of the game, partly due to the fact that he was injured and he's kind of coming back, and maybe they're doing some load management there. But when Urban Meyer was asked about it, he said, "Well, that's not me. The offensive coordinator goes out and makes the calls, so it's not, and that's not my responsibility," which kind of shows
what
me
do you do there, Urban Meyer? Like, what do you do on that team?
I hate people that have the mentality of like, I just work here. Like, oh, I just work here. That has nothing. Like, you're the head fucking coach. What do you mean? That like just reminds me of Mike Zimmer, and I think that's what makes me the most mad is like when you have a head coach that is not in tune with all aspects of the team. Like you're not a partial head coach, right? You're not assistant to the head coach. Like when you get to be the head coach, that doesn't mean that you can now don all of the responsibilities on the offensive coordinator for the offense and the defensive coordinator for the defense. It's your responsibility to make sure everything comes together. And so that's such a bullshit. Like this isn't college, bro. This is not college that I just work here kind of bullshit tactic mentality. Like it's your team. You got paid millions of dollars to lead this team and this program and this franchise. And for you to just be like, that's just the offensive coordinator's thing. Like that's some bullshit. So again, I still don't think Urban Meyer's the guy there. It's sad when Laquan Treadwell leads the team in receiving yards. I mean, God, that tells you everything you need to know. He had 8 targets. Laquan Treadwell had 8 targets for the Jaguars. So,
oh my God.
They had nobody. They have nobody. They refuse again to all these winnable games. They just don't win, or they don't want to win, or they don't put up enough talent or product on the field to like come away victorious. And these are the games the Falcons all year have seemed to take advantage of, right? Their 5 wins, I feel like, are against 5 really, really bad teams. But that all of a sudden makes them 5-6 and back in playoff contention for whatever that's worth.
Yeah, they're not worth very much. They're still a bad team, but they do beat most of these bad teams. They're like the best of the bad teams.
Yeah.
They hadn't scored a touchdown in their last 24 drives, and they hadn't done so and so in so long, and this and that. This was the first time they scored in 24 drives, so they needed Cordero Patterson back really badly. And this was the first time the Cordero Patterson score in the first quarter was the first touchdown for the Falcons in their last 3 games. So yeah, he's the heart and soul of that team. Without them, they're fucked. And then one last thing on the other side of the field, Trevor Lawrence is by far the worst quarterback in the league at this moment. I guess if Wilson would have kept playing, then maybe he would have surpassed Lawrence in this stat. But right now, Trevor Lawrence has a sub 75 passer rating in 7 games this season. That's the most in the NFL. So he's had plenty of opportunities to kind of take down teams like the Falcons and whatnot, and he doesn't. So I'm not sure that there's still a lot more work to be done for Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, a lot of soul searching for that entire team. I mean, I can't even pinpoint the issue right now. It just seems like their entire team is a problem. So they have a ton of shit that they just need to figure out. You mentioned it though, man. We talked about it. The Falcons win games when Cordero Patterson plays. I mean, shit, he's literally their team right now. He's carrying the Atlanta Falcons, their 5 victories. So nice to see Russell Gage at least have some receiver production, 6 for 62 with the touchdown. Kyle Pitts, hit or miss. Like, I don't know what this means. 2 for 26. Some games he, has big games. Some games he kind of doesn't show up, especially in an offense that only has one guy. Like you would think he would at least be able to be consistent. So that's still a little bit in disarray. The Falcons have to play the Buccaneers next week. So not a shitty team that they have a possibility to beat. And the Jaguars travel to take on the Rams. So Trevor Lawrence, as bad as he looked, I don't expect him to look any better next week. Next game on the board, the Jets. The Jets took on the Texans. They traveled to Houston. Jets came in as 2.5-point dogs, won this game outright, 21-14 final. Over under was 44.5. So the under came in. Zach Wilson returning from injury. I think we were all fading the Jets just because Zach Wilson hadn't really given us a reason not to. And the other quarterbacks had produced better in that offense up until this point. But Zach Wilson came back and the Jets won. So I don't know how much of that was Zach Wilson, as he was only 14 of 24 for 145 yards and a pick, only ran the ball 2 carries 3 times, did have a rushing touchdown. But I think the story was more so the Jets defense and the Texans lack of offense.
Oh, for sure. The Texans came in here thinking, the Jets came in here thinking, let's just run the ball. That's what the Texans are slightly weaker at. And they did that. No matter how bad it turned out, they kept running the ball with multiple different players. They even used Elijah Moore in the running formations. And Austin Walter was a nice little bright spot that nobody knew about. At least I didn't. All talks before the game was Tevin Coleman, Ty Johnson. That kind of played out as expected. I think we mentioned last week on the podcast, Tevin Coleman would be getting bulk of the carries. They look at Ty Johnson when it's passing down times, but Ty Johnson didn't get any catches. However, Tevin Coleman held a bulk of the carries. That's starting number, 16 carries. Anytime anybody gets 16 carries, you got to throw them in the flex or something. So that kind of worked out. But outside of that, nothing else was predictable. The Texans did a just putrid, as you mentioned earlier, job of just playing football. They couldn't carry the ball. They averaged, the best running back on the team averaged 3.9 yards per carry. It was just not a good day for the Texans. The Jets defense showed up.
There's a point I want to make to your comment there. 16 carries by Tevin Coleman, startable, right? So would you start somebody who's averaging 15 carries?
Depends how bad my team is, but yeah, maybe.
So Rex Burkhead this week had 12 carries for 27 yards, right? Last week, I remember his stats. He had 18 carries for 40 yards. Average that out. That's 30 carries in 2 weeks. That's 15 carries that's literally 30 carries for 67 yards. So is that, you think if you got desperate, would you start Rex Burkhead just based on volume?
No, because I know there's David Johnson just sitting there to get the other carries. But if it's a standalone running back with 12 touches, if there's nobody to vulture, then I'll start him. But Rex Burkhead, I don't care if he gets 30 carries next game. I'm not starting him.
No 30 way. Carries for like 46 yards.
Well, it would be like 67, but yeah.
What the Texans need to do is they need to free Brandon Cooks. Okay. 3 receptions, 45 yards. He gets a touchdown. The Texans are up, man. The Texans are up 14-3 in halftime against the Jets. And the Jets kind of looked like what we thought they would look like. But then they come around and credit, you guys have already mentioned this, but credit to the defense. I want to talk about a guy on this defense, Quincy Williams. Yeah, Quincy Williams. All together with Quincy Williams and company had 5 sacks against Tyrod Taylor on crucial third downs. Just solid defensive effort to be able to win the game. I don't think Zach Wilson didn't have a strong game. He's looking like all the other rookie quarterbacks not named Mac Jones. So a lot of, understanding the play call and the playbook a little bit better. But the Jets defense, that's the highlight of this game. That's the big takeaway for me.
Yeah, Jets will get a chance at the Eagles next week. So we talked about that being a winnable game for the Eagles. Maybe the Jets come in and think that's a winnable game for the Jets. Who knows?
Yeah, if Hurts doesn't play, then it's up for grabs.
Yeah. And then, obviously the Texans, they play the Colts next week. The Colts are going to look to bounce back after that tough defeat against the Buccaneers. Next game on the board, the Chargers took travel to the Denver Broncos, Mile High Stadium. Coming in, Denver was 2.5-point favorites. Over under was 47.5. Chargers continue to be fake news. Denver continues to just confuse us. 28-13, Denver wins this at home. Covering the 2.5-point spread, the under comes in. The Chargers offense, again, for all the talks about how great their offense can be, they just continue to have very, very lackluster performances. And the Broncos did a really, really good job of running the football.
Yeah, man. The Broncos receivers are starving. Talking about free Brandon Cooks. Free the Broncos receivers, man. I know they like running the ball and stuff, but when you're playing against the Chargers, you kind of expect to come in there knowing how to throw the ball a little bit better. And I don't remember the stats exactly. I don't even know if I looked. This is just straight from what I've watched, but I don't remember many passes going to the receivers. I think, 3 receptions by Javonte Williams was the leading receiver. So Tim Patrick had 2 catches. I don't understand what the game script was but it worked out. It worked out pretty well. They just kind of pounded the ball with Melvin Gordon and Javonte Williams, although not very successful, not crazy kind of runs there. They just did what it had to be done because the Chargers are either destroy you scoring 40 points or scoring 13 points and losing. And they went with the scoring 13 points and losing this game.
Yeah, we've talked about how the Chargers defense doesn't allow Chargers defense doesn't allow Herbert to be just the time of possession for the offense isn't there because the defense is on the field for too long and the offense doesn't get in the rhythm. It's kind of 50-50 here. I think that the slight edge goes to the Broncos here on time of possession, but not that great of a difference. Still, the offense wasn't able to form some sort of rhythm. We've seen what the Chargers can do. We've seen what they did last week against the Steelers, and just the lack of inconsistency is kind of being their greatest downfall. They've got the personnel. It seems like they should be able to, at least on offense, should be able to score points, more than 13 points. But Denver, the Broncos, ever since they lost Von Miller, have gone, I think, 3-1 now. So it's crazy. The fact that you lose the best edge rusher And you got your rookie that comes in, and now they're playing better defense than they were. So I was quick to rule out the Broncos. I thought the win against the Cowboys was sort of like an anomaly. But if they can get their run game established and be able to stop teams with their defense, looking pretty good as well. I mean, yeah, Chargers not looking so great. That's all I can say to that.
If the Chargers continue to just have an inability to stop the run, they're just not going to win very many football games, honestly. I mean, yes, the time of possession actually favored the Chargers by like 30 seconds. So it was very, very close, but the Chargers actually favored. But here's the biggest thing, right? Denver ran the ball for 147 yards. Chargers only ran the ball for 72 yards. What does that mean? If time of possession isn't being the direct factor of that, what's the other factor there? What happened is for Denver, they're getting a lot of third and short opportunities where they can run the ball. They are 8 of 11 on third down, right? So they're extending drives and they're converting a lot of their third downs. So they're getting in scoring position, they're converting, and they're giving themselves more opportunities to score points. Chargers, on the other end, they were 7 of 14 on third down, right? So 50%, you still like that, but when you're only rushing the ball 7 for 72 yards, on third down, when you're the Denver Broncos defense, chances are the Chargers are going to throw it on third down, right? So you're pretty much ruling out the ability of them to run the ball on third down. They're becoming one-dimensional, and it's just that much easier to stop. So it's not rocket science to see what the problem with the Chargers continues to be. Is like, until they can realize that they need to run the ball more effectively. Like, Eckler got 12 carries for 31 yards, but that doesn't mean you need to go away from running the ball. I know Denver took an early lead, but this game didn't get out of hand till the fourth quarter. It just shows you that regardless of what's happening, the Chargers are so hell-bent on just being like, no matter what, we're going to continue to throw the football. And there are just weeks where it's not going to work. And this is another week where it doesn't work. And so it's almost becoming like a coin toss, what weeks it's going to work and what weeks it's not. That's why they're hovering right at 500, right? I mean, that's the story of their season. So,
yeah. Another guy to kind of mention is Patrick Surtain, PS2, man. 2 interceptions, 70 yards, 2 pass deflections. So solid game by PS2. I know Sundesh, our Broncos homer, was very excited to see big plays by the defense.
Yeah, that was good. I mean, the Chargers take on the Bengals next week. 2 teams that we have with good offenses. The Bengals don't have a great defense. So if the Chargers want to bounce back and drop 40, that's another good game for them to do so. Denver's got it tough. They're traveling to Arrowhead to take on Kansas City in Sunday Night Football next week. So that's going to be a big test on the road for them. That takes us into kind of maybe the marquee matchup of the week. The Rams travel to Green Bay to take on the Packers this week. Packers came in as 1-point dogs. Over-under was sitting at 47. And like I said, anytime you get Aaron Rodgers at home as an underdog, I mean, you're taking that all day long, and the Packers won 36-28. Green Bay again wins outright, covers the 1-point dog spread. The over hits. And that was the story, right? The Rams story this year continues to be at times Matthew Stafford, goes back to his Detroit Lions ways and makes crucial throws, interceptions, inaccurate passes, and just not in the rhythm and the flow of things. And then you had the Packers over there where they're at home and Aaron Rodgers was absolutely cooking, 307 yards passing, 2 touchdowns. They didn't have to run the ball a bunch. Aaron Jones came back, but did not actually lead the team in touches. So I don't know if that's the fact that they're just working him in or they like what they see from AJ Dillon. What'd you guys like from this game, or what'd you guys see?
Yeah, I think that Aaron Rodgers hurt us when we said something about COVID, because there was certainly no toe issues for Aaron Rodgers this week. And just the Rams defense isn't as they were, at least at last year. We say that we call them the LA Ramses, and Ramses has no answer for Devontae Adams. So it's just classic, Packers play. Feed your stars 8 receptions, 104 yards for Devontae Adams. Randall Cobb had a touchdown and 95 yards as well. So just a great offensive play, and it's looking more and more like that Stafford deal may not have turned out as how they wanted to. And I almost think that maybe Sean McVay's just trying to get too cute. Maybe he's just not running the ball too much. I mean, they've got, Sean McVay is supposed to be this head coach that's got just revolutionizing his game with all these schemes that he has, but maybe you just need to go back to the basics and run the ball more, give the ball to Darrell Henderson, and so that you can kind of help out Matthew Stafford, who's not looking so great.
Yeah, not looking so great. As I've been just putting on repeat and just hitting play for the last 3 weeks. He's 0-17 in his career versus teams that are over 500. He's just, it's just, it's 3 straight games with a pick six now. We're not even talking 3 straight games with a pick. We're talking 3 straight games with a pick six. And Aaron Rodgers has like 3 pick sixes in his whole career. Like, this matchup was destroyed from our last podcast. Like, there was nothing pointing towards the Rams outplaying Aaron Rodgers at home. They have so much film on Matthew Stafford that Matthew Stafford had little to no chance just even entering Green Bay for this game. And there's a lot of other defensive lapses, like you guys mentioned. The Rams are 0-4 in games when allowing over 25 points this season. And they've allowed 28 points or more the last 3 games in a row. So they're not on a good trend here. They're going and grabbing all these like big names and everything, but this just lets us know chemistry is what the most important thing is on a team. It's not just stats. It's not just players. It's not just this. It's not just that. You can go spend whatever you want, get whatever players for a steal. At the end of the day, they got to gel together. And Packers look like a team that you can remove these pieces, and they're actually doing what I just said. They're gelling on all levels, like every level. And then you have teams like the Rams where you have the best players in this position, that position, and you're just pulling out losses. So you're right. The Rams do need to go back to basics, kind of get some things straight there. Don't start force-feeding Odell just because he's got to get hot. Congratulations to Odell for getting his first touchdown in like 420 days or something like that. But he's still a downgrade from Robert Woods. Like, we forget how good Robert Woods was, and we've seen Robert Woods not suck, but we've seen Odell drop a lot of passes. So all this hype over this big playability is one thing, but this chemistry that these receivers had that Matthew Stafford was developing early in the season kind of got screwed over. And I think for that reason, Van Jefferson is going to be being a benefactor for a lot of these throws in the next few games.
The winning record that they have, they were 7-0 against teams that are under 500. They're 1-4 against teams that are over 500, and that one game is against the Buccaneers. But outside of that, they've just been losing to good teams.
Yeah, it's a problem. It's definitely a problem. I mean, Stafford, 21 of 38. There's a lot of incompletions there, a lot of inaccuracy. You like what you see from these secondary receivers, like you guys had mentioned. OBJ 10 targets, Van Jefferson 9 targets. I mean, those are startable numbers on a receiving core and an offense that's built to throw. But Shofa, you're making a great point. Is that maybe it's not. I feel like back when they had Jared Goff, it's almost like they knew what they had. So they did a really good job of working their running backs. They used to use like 2-3 running backs at a time because they loved just interchanging the running backs, running the ball, and then building off of that with play action and these deep intermediate routes with Woods and Kupp. Now, because they got Matthew Stafford, I feel like they think they have like a top tier upper echelon quarterback, when let's be real, like Stafford's put up good numbers, but none of us consider him like a top echelon quarterback. Right. And so they're almost putting too much on Matthew Stafford, thinking he's what he's not. It's almost like if they just still ran the game plan and the script and the playbook the way they had, thinking that they still had Jared Goff, I think it would actually inevitably lead to more success. So that's definitely an interesting point. Who knows? They have a good bounce back opportunity next week. They take on the Jaguars. So it should be an opportunity for them to get back and right the ship. The Packers head into the bye, high and mighty, 9-3, 5-0 at home, pretty much at this point, maybe have the NFC North locked up, barring some kind of miracle. So speaking of the NFC North, the Minnesota Vikings, the other team in that division, traveled to San Francisco to take on the 49ers this week. 49ers came in 3-point favorites at home, over under 49. Great game, back and forth affair, but the 49ers do pull this one out, 34-26 final. Tough loss for Minnesota. Had a lot of opportunities to take the lead or get back in the game and tie the game up. But I think the one thing we talked about last week on this podcast, and I think was not really a secret, is that Minnesota was playing with a bunch of backups on the D-line at every position, and the 49ers did exactly what we thought they would do, and it was run the ball down our throats.
Yeah, Vikings are the only team in the NFL to lead by 7 points or more in each game this season, whether there's wins or losses. We've had the lead. They know how to score points. They just don't know how to score points when it counts. And the defense is still just a mess because now Patrick Peterson, as soon as he came back, we improved a little bit, but now he's on the COVID list. So he's probably, I don't know how bad. I don't know. I can't predict what's going to happen, but he's on the COVID list, and there's 5 days until game time. So we have time, but we don't know. We might be down another player there, and that's just a nightmare. At this point, there's no consistency. It kind of reminds me of my own fantasy team, honestly. It's like you can't get all the players to play at once. There's always somebody out at some point. Someone's mom, I don't know, gets something happens to somebody at certain times. Like Everson Griffin's having mental problems. Like just anything could possibly go wrong, and it is happening. And we're hiking the ball under the right guard. Like this is a nightmare. You can't win like this against the San Francisco team, which has such a strong identity, and they just enforce that identity like there's no tomorrow. So we did our best. I mean, I'm there's some highlights here that you can be proud of, but at the end of the day, you can't be up by 7 points every single game. Not many teams have the luxury of doing that and then have more losses than wins. Just not acceptable.
Yeah, I mean, you guys were close all throughout the game. It was just an 8-point game that you guys lost by. So even at the last drive, you could have definitely tied the game. Greg Joseph missing that field goal kind of just hurt your chances there a little bit as well. Extra point. Sorry, yeah, call extra point. And then, but the bright thing there was the fact that you guys went for it on 4th down to score that touchdown in the red zone. So I know you guys talk about how Vikings are old school and wouldn't do that, but they did, and they got the score. Kind of worked out for them, kept it close. But yeah, man, the 49ers, I think it's 3 straight that they're winning. They're doing it on the run game. They're giving it to Deebo Samuel. They're giving it to Elijah Mitchell, who had 133 yards, 1 touchdown. And with Deebo Samuel hurt, it looks like Elijah Mitchell will be the guy to get most of the carries, as he was this week. But there's no vulturing on touchdowns.
Yeah. Don't forget Trey Sermon was carted off the field too. So now there's really no competition. It's just Wilson, and it's going to be a huge bulk of Elijah Mitchell going forward. One little fun fact: Deebo Samuels now has more rushing touchdowns this season than Aaron Jones, Alvin Kamara, Montgomery, Saquon, and CMC. So
that's incredible. This guy is a beast. He got 2 touchdowns last game, and he only had 1 catch for 16 yards. Put him in the running back option on fantasy, right? Like, let us.
Yeah, he's got to. Like at this point, like I just named you like fucking superstars, and he has more touchdowns than them. Like he has to.
He's a freak, man. He's a unicorn. He's another Cordero Patterson type player, but probably just better in every facet, to be honest. And so it's extremely scary that he can be that productive from a fantasy perspective and catch 1 pass when he's supposed to be a receiver. Fantasy wise, I mean, George Kittle, 1 catch, 13 yards, not a big game for him. Brandon Ayuk did get 3 for 91, so good for him. We talked about Dalvin Cook on the other side, also getting hurt, only 10 for 39. Your boy Thielen had 5 for 62 for 2 touchdowns to show. Jefferson got 4 for 83. And so, again, there were opportunities for the Vikings to, get closer here or tie the game, score the game. But for me, I just think, again, it comes down. We know the offense is so talented. We know the defense has their issues, but time and time again, I think the issue just seems to be like the intangibles, right? When we have to improvise, or when we can't call timeout and script up a play, like just that situation where we were just scrambling and Kirk was trying to get the people set up right because half our team didn't even know where they were supposed to line up. And then by that time, the time's running out and Kirk's trying to hurry. And then naturally he's probably, doesn't think, and he's lining up a guy behind the right tackle or right guard.
Has that ever happened before? Like,
no,
that's inexcusable. Like you got to know who your center is. Like that's
It's just it's always that. I just feel like the talent is there, but the Vikings don't have the intangibles. Like it's like when there's crunch time, when there's like weird decisions to be made, and you have like the coach needs to be like, you know what, we're going to make this decision, or the quarterback needs to be like, you know what, I'm going to take over this game, and like whatever they say on the sidelines, I don't care, I'm going to run this show my way. Like you're never going to have that kind of issue with like a top tier head coach or a quarterback that actually gets the privilege to call audibles and stuff. And so there's just so many things where like we have issues inside 2 minutes. We are the number 1 team in terms of giving up touchdowns inside 2 minutes, which in the first half. Why is that? Oh, because there's a lot of timeouts. There's a lot of important decisions to be made. And there's a lot of improvising on the fly because the other team is playing hurry up, right? And anytime we're improvising, we suck. So we're just like the definition of like a pre-scripted team that if one thing doesn't go our way, it's like all fucking chaos and disaster. So it's tough. At least we get to take on the Lions next week, who are still searching for their first victory. So my God, let's not let that be us. The 49ers are going to travel to take on the Seahawks next week in a divisional matchup. But holy shit, guys, if the 49ers can run this way, they're another really scary team all of a sudden again. And Jimmy Garoppolo, he just has to complement the passing game, not make mistakes and make the timely, accurate passes. And Garoppolo is known for his accuracy. So, I know the Deebo Samuel injury is big for them, but if they can continue to run the ball like this, all of a sudden, I don't want to fuck with the 49ers.
Yeah, I think the Deebo Samuel injury is actually really going to be really great for Ayuk, obviously, because he's going to be the number one receiver, but also for George Kittle. I think George Kittle should get some of those targets. So although he only had one reception this game, I think next week, if Deebo Samuel's out, I expect more from him.
Yeah. One last thing to note, the Vikings had that kick return touchdown. That's their second of the season. Shout out to Kene Nwangu, the third fastest running back on Madden. He's clearly going to be in the backfield now, whether he's splitting touches or just a compliment to Madison. But anytime you have a guy with that kind of speed in special teams returning touchdowns in an era where like kick returns pretty much don't exist anymore, that warrants getting that guy the football. I don't care how you do it. You know, like when he has that kind of speed, when he's flashing something like that, he's deserved playing time. So one glimmer of hope is I'm excited to see if the Vikings at least start to incorporate him in the offense. Next game on the board, the Sunday Night Football matchup. My survivor pick was the Baltimore Ravens at home against the Cleveland Browns. One of the ugliest games I've seen. Holy shit, we stayed and, got all excited for Sunday Night Football. We were like, you know what? We're going to watch this one too as well. And we're going to make it a late night last night and get all excited about all the possibilities of offensive explosions. Sandman taking the over, thinking there's just going to be nothing but touchdowns. And holy shit, we had like nothing but field goals for the first 35 minutes of this game. The final score was 16-10. The Baltimore Ravens come away victorious by 6, cover the 3.5 point spread. The over wasn't even close. The over under was 47 with 26 combined points. Ugly game, right? Just absolutely ugly game. When the difference is going to be the kicking game, you got to feel good knowing you have the boy Justin Tucker.
Oh man. This was the worst game I've seen all season, hands down. Like nothing comes close to this one. It was absolutely atrocious. I'm going to ask you guys a trivia question. So Lamar Jackson became the first starting quarterback to throw 4 or more interceptions and win the game since 2013. Can you guess who that other quarterback was?
Oh shit. Okay. 2013. Wow. Is there even a single hint you can give us? Are they a quarterback that's relevant, or like it's 2013, so are they just nobody anymore?
They're relevant. You can.
I want to say Manning.
You can take the word relevant for however you want, but he's thrown passes this season.
This season, damn. Okay.
No.
Okay. No. So it's definitely not Peyton Manning because he hasn't thrown passes. Tom Brady?
No, Tom Brady would never.
Yeah, I know.
Take that back.
I was.
No, close. It's in the West.
Aaron Rodgers.
No, that's my bad. I kind of screwed that one up. But yeah, no. Yeah, if he was overall in Madden, I would give him a 71.
What? That's horrible. That's absolutely horrible. Okay, he's in the NFL and he's a 71 overall. Ryan Fitzpatrick.
No, he hasn't thrown passes, has he?
Joe Flacco.
Taylor. Oh.
No. Getting warmer.
Oh my God! Give us another hint. We're not gonna be done with this until you give us more hints. So,
he has made the Pro Bowl multiple times.
What? Okay. Why am I drawing blanks? He's basically a guy. This year throwing passes. Teddy Bridgewater is not it. That's obviously not it. Kirk Cousins.
How long has Patrick Mahomes been in the league? Not since that.
It's not Mahomes.
It's not him either.
Hold on. Why am I drawing blanks real quick? Let me just do a quick rundown here. It's not going to be
Cam Newton.
Nope.
Oh, that was a good guess. I honestly thought you had it right there. Matt Ryan.
Nope.
Damn it. Oh my God. Matt Stafford.
Nope.
Oh my God.
Jared Goff.
Getting warmer. Nope.
Jared Goff wasn't in the league then. Ryan Tannehill.
Nope.
What the fuck? I don't know. I give up. At this point, I honestly don't know.
All right. Ready?
Yeah.
It's Andy Dalton.
Wait, he said that. Didn't you say that?
Wait, who said that?
No? We'll have to rewind the clip, but I think I did say Andy Dalton.
I think Chauvin said Andy Dalton. Yeah.
What? What? Okay, yeah. Well, good thing we have a recording. But yeah, it's fine.
Andy Dalton, the Red Rifle. Wow.
Who was he playing
Damn.
against? Any?
Versus Baltimore.
Oh wow!
Wow.
The
Wow.
circle
Full
of
circle.
life.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
Lamar throws 4 interceptions, has one of his worst passing games ever. But the good thing is he's playing against Baker
Wins.
Mayfield, who continues to put himself out on the field when he shouldn't, and he's hurt and he's not good anymore and he's inaccurate. And despite throwing 4 interceptions, has, enough with the running game and enough kicking power from Justin Tucker and enough defensive stops to win this game. And so, man, you just think about the Ravens at 7-3 and how luxurious it must be to win a game where your quarterback throws 4 interceptions and you probably play one of the worst brands of football you've ever played.
He threw 4 interceptions, but then he had that one sick touchdown where he's kind of running out of the pocket to the right-hand side. Clowney's chasing
Andrews?
him. To Andrews. Clowney's chasing him. And I forget the other guy. The other defensive
Myles
end.
Garrett.
Myles Garrett. There you go. Myles Garrett's chasing them, and he just heaves it to Mark Andrews, and Mark Andrews has come back a little bit, but gets a touchdown. And Myles Garrett, is like, it's pretty impressive. Maybe I'll take you out of my graveyard after that one. So he made the plays when it mattered, and the 4 interceptions doesn't really mean anything when the Browns can't do anything with those 4 interceptions. Could not establish a running game. Landry had over 100 yards. He was the bright star of the Browns, but I'm not going to say that Baker Mayfield is a reason they lost the game. I think that not being able to establish a run game, kind of going away from what they're used to, is probably what hurt them the most than anything else. But
so you bring up a good point right there, right? You're not going to say that Baker Mayfield is the reason they lost because they couldn't establish the run, right? As a starting quarterback in the NFL, sometimes your team is not going to be able to run the football, right? That's when the pressure gets put on you to lead the team to victory. And rightfully so, when you're getting to throw the ball 37 times in a football game, you expect that at least it's going to, achieve some sort of success. But the fact that he only completed 18 of those passes, under 50% completion percentage when you're getting 37 times to throw the ball, I'd also argue that I still do fault Baker Mayfield, right? The opportunities are clearly there. You can't fault the running game where, if they didn't attempt the rushes enough, it's not the running back's fault that they didn't get the yards. The quarterback got to throw the ball 37 times and only completed it 18 times. I mean, that's fucking pathetic.
So for me,
yeah, go ahead.
No, for me, they got the ball back twice before halftime with within the last 2 minutes. You're not going to run the ball in those situations, right? You got to throw the ball in those situations, and you couldn't capitalize. You were already in field goal range twice, and you can't even muster out a field goal. Some of the blame has to definitely go on Baker there because, there's no responsibility for the running back at that point. But yeah, I mean, obviously, when you're not doing what you're built to do, you're probably not going to win the game. But you got the turnover battle. Four turnovers from one of the best quarterbacks in football. It's a team effort. I'm never going to put the blame on the quarterback when I see obvious, mess ups from the rest of the team. But Baker did not help the situation one bit. All he had to do was get field goal. I'm not even asking you to throw a touchdown, Baker, because I know that's hard for you to do. But at least get your team ready, set up for a field goal. Don't be in situations where you can turn the ball over with a few minutes left and you just don't even get the opportunity to kick a field goal. So that was huge.
Yeah, I mean, and the other thing is he wasn't the Ravens defense is almost like an aura. Their defense isn't great, right? They give up a shit ton of points. They gave up 33 points to the Raiders. They gave up 35 points to the Chiefs. They gave up 25 points to the Colts. They gave up 41 points to the Bengals, 31 to the Vikings. So they can give up points in a hurry. And for them to literally only muster up 10 points when you get the ball from a turnover 4 different times, I mean, that's inexcusable. I mean, that offense is just incapable when their running game is not operating to do anything. And that has to be Baker Mayfield. So it's unfortunate, but we've talked about it for weeks now where he's just not as accurate as you want him to be. And he's already historically not an accurate quarterback, right? So when you have an injury or whatever it is that's causing him to be more inaccurate than he already notoriously is known to be, I mean, there's just not enough completions to convert thirds down. There's not enough completions to move the ball. I mean, it's a microcosm of the entire game at that point. So tough for Baker, but they do get a bye. So hopefully Baker gets time to heal, because it doesn't seem like they're going to rest him or bench him anytime soon, even though they have Case Keenum there. And the Ravens, we talked about it, they're traveling to Pittsburgh next week to take on the Steelers. So that's going to be a tough test nonetheless of what the Steelers are doing. And that's Sunday night. We have Monday Night Football that comes up in about 28 minutes or so, with the Seahawks traveling to Washington to take on the football team. A couple of really, really struggling teams. And I mean, I don't know at this point who's really even in the thick of things, but the NFC is still wide open. So I think with the Seahawks, they kind of have to win out, or maybe they can afford to lose one more game. Washington is probably very, very similar. So there's really, really a very, very small glimmer of, opportunity lost for these teams. So both teams looking for a victory. Any predictions on which way you guys like this game to go tonight?
I can't see Russell Wilson being bottom feeder. I just can't see that. It's just,
I know
he can't lose.
It's just hard to come to terms with. Like, it's impossible to believe that could happen.
And like the way he is such like a, you always see him doing film, and like he's always just all about business. You have to assume that when you're on Monday Night Football, all eyes are on you. You're playing against an okay team that's like on the come up. I would have to assume he prepared thoroughly for this game, and it's at home, right? It's Seattle at home.
No, they're in Washington.
No,
actually.
Okay, yeah, that's yikes. This is gonna be. I'm hoping, because I have to start Russell Wilson next week if Jalen Hurts can't go. So I need to see some bombs. Where's Lockett? Where's these DK Metcalf bombs? This has to be a must today in order to firmly believe in Russell Wilson again.
I'm going to side with the Washington football team. I'm going to say that with all those things that you said are just too much for the Seahawks to overcome. I haven't seen Russell Wilson. I mean, that's the game script. Russell Wilson needs to be back to what he was in the first 3 weeks of football. And, I'm going to take the bet and say that he's just not ready just quite yet. So, I'm going to lean Washington football team tonight.
Yeah, I think, I know you guys have differing or maybe similar Antonio Gibson implications tonight, but that Seattle run defense is not very good. So, I could see a game Antonio Gibson has a decent game, or they establish some sort of a running game. So that's definitely something to watch out for. And for Seattle, they're having a similar situation with all these teams that are becoming too one-dimensional. You're putting the onus on a guy who's got a fucked up finger, who clearly can't throw the ball like he's supposed to be, yet you have no running game whatsoever to give him any sort of compliment, right? So that's going to be an issue. Is the Washington football team had only given up 95.5 yards on the ground so far this year, and Seattle's only running the ball at 98 yards per game on the ground. So they already don't have a good running game. Russell Wilson's already got too much pressure on himself, even every other game as it is. But now with that injury on his finger still lingering, it's going to be tough. But again, if there's one guy that you're like, I'm going to give this guy the benefit of the doubt, or he's going to prove us wrong, it's Russell Wilson. So should still bode well for a good matchup. Hopefully we see some more points than we did last night, because that was just really, really fucking boring.
Yeah. I need 56 points from Gibson to hold on to my 6th seed playoff spot.
Jesus Christ. You need 56 points
from Gibson tonight.
All right. So we need a Jonathan Taylor-esque performance tonight from Antonio Gibson.
Yeah. 56 and I'll win. I have Gibson. I think I'm down by 25. He's got McKissick. And I think the Washington football team defense. So
game script's key for you here, because if they're down, it's all McKissick.
Exactly.
If they're up, it's all Gibson. That's the last game on the board for week 12. We'll be excited to catch this one here in about 25 minutes. Let's jump into our studs and duds of the week. Feel like this was a very big dud week. I know in the past we've struggled to find duds, but this week I felt like there were more duds. There were way more duds than studs. At least it felt like for my teams anyway. So
for sure, bunch of Dudley boys.
Give us your stud and dud.
Yeah. So for me, it wasn't too much of a tough choice. Stud was Adam Thielen. You wonder, Jefferson being the stud he is himself, is this guy going to get enough looks to be a viable start? Is he a flex player? And all of that can just go to HE double hockey sticks, because he leads the league in touchdowns. Adam Thielen leads the league in touchdowns, and it's not going away. This isn't the game script thing. That is the favorite target in the red zone. We don't have Rudolph anymore. There's no Irv Smith. The trust in the bigger guys we haven't had the ability to do that, but there is one person you can trust just throwing the ball anywhere around him, and that's Adam Thielen. And with scoring 20.7 points, that's my stud of the week. Dud, Jalen Hurts had it was a pretty easy game to beat. Not everything went his way. A lot of drop passes. He could have ended up winning the game, but being the number one quarterback in fantasy and then just putting up 6.86, they figured you out at least for one game. And let's see what you can do for that. And for that one game, you are my dud for the week.
Okay, Shovit.
Nice.
What about you, man?
Yeah, I'm gonna piggyback off that dud. And the thing I want to mention is that those drops you're talking about is for Rieger. The Eagles had a chance to get Jefferson and didn't. And so just imagine what Hurts and Jefferson connection would be like.
God.
Hurts, Jefferson, Devontae Smith. That's a scary.
Maybe they don't draft Devontae Smith if they got Jalen Rieger the year before, or maybe they do. Who knows?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Even then,
We
you
should-
still have Uncle Hefe, and
Let's.
look at that.
I'm gonna pitch a what if episode to Marvel about an alternate reality where they draft Justin Jefferson, and let's see what the Eagles are doing today. So,
Wow.
Can we get Kyler Murray in that alternate reality though?
as a Viking,
Yeah.
Oh my God. Yes, you got me. Very
If you could have
excited.
any quarterback in the league, which quarterback would you
Patrick
have?
Mahomes.
Yeah. That's pretty safe answer.
Yeah. So my stud for this week is gonna be Joe Mixon, who has been proving himself over and over again that he is a valid RB1. I mean, could even be the second pick of the draft if the draft was today. 30.3 points last week. They just kept feeding him the ball, and he got his yards and points, and so great performance by Joe Mixon. The dud I have is none other than Lamar Jackson. You throw 4 interceptions, dude, you're gonna be dud. You're going to be dud hardcore. Only 9.4 points. Yes, you got that touchdown. And yes, you did, get over your rushing prop, but only 9.4 points is not good enough for fantasy purposes.
No, absolutely not.
No.
He's the reason I lost. I went into Monday night or Sunday Night Football needing 18 points from Lamar Jackson, and he got me 9. So, I don't think it gets any dudlier than that. 9 points from a quarterback who's probably the biggest rushing quarterback in the NFL. Like 9 points is the floor. I feel like that's like less than the floor. That's like the fucking, that's like the basement. That's like the concrete, like below the house. That's like the mud, like the rubble. That doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah. Someone go arrest him because he's busted.
Dang.
Some Grand Theft Auto vibes there.
Yeah.
Whenever they say busted and you get caught and shit, like
God. That's a good segment. Boom or bust, busted.
Boom or busted. Booming or busted. I like it. So my stud this week is going to be the guy that I played against in both fantasy leagues. It was Mr. Leonard Fournette, Lenny himself. Did you guys see the audio clip of Tom Brady when he's like telling Leonard Fournette to like shift? But he calls him Lenny. I didn't know everybody on the team calls him Lenny. He's like, Lenny, go. And what's funny is he hikes the ball and then he also tells Lenny to go. So it's almost like Tom Brady tells Leonard Fournette what to do after the ball is hiked. Like it's actually freaking hilarious. You guys got to find that. Really funny.
I also saw clips of Tom Brady and Leonard Fournette where it was like a play action. And as he's faking the handoff, he's like cover 2. He's like telling him what the defense looks like.
Wow.
So look at that. Look
Smart.
at that clip too.
Brady is such a goat, bro. Oh my God.
Go
That's insane.
QB moves. Yeah.
Oh
I'm
my
surprised he
God.
doesn't call him babe. Hey babe, cover 2.
Yeah. Hey, babe.
There's
Hey,
only
babe.
one babe, dude. How many babes he's trying to have?
The babe already popped off, man. But
Gronk.
Leonard Fournette had
Yeah.
40.6 fantasy points, 17 carries, 100 yards, 3 rushing touchdowns, caught another 7 passes for 31 yards and scored another catching touchdown. So 40.6 fantasy points. That's another week where a guy's got 4 or more touchdowns as a running back.
Yeah, this is weird. It's like just over the last 3 weeks, things are just like exploding.
Yeah, it's been an explosion.
And then one more thing. I don't know if you guys have seen these clips of Leonard Fournette, but watch.
Oh, I think I have.
clips
I know
where he's laughing.
Yes,
when he gets tackled. Bro, this dude's a psychopath. He gets tackled and he goes,
and he's giggling. He's literally giggling as he's getting tackled.
Yeah,
it's actually like the guy lives for fucking violence or something.
Yeah, dude, he just giggles. I'm gonna post it on our Instagram story. You guys should check it out.
Yeah. No, we'll check it out for sure. At The Only Playbook on Instagram, guys, give us a follow. But Leonard Fournette, absolute stud, literally laughs when he gets tackled. I mean, what kind of guy who wouldn't want that guy on your team? He literally laughs at the face of fucking violence. So my dud of the week is a guy who does not laugh. He does nothing but laugh. He hasn't laughed all season. He's probably cried all season. He's probably been sad all season, as has all of his fantasy owners, as his football team. So my dud is going to be Christian McCaffrey, man. I'm so sorry to put you in the dud era, but you can't stay healthy, bro. Your biggest attribute is your availability, man. That could not be truer. I don't care if you're the best. I don't care if you're projected to be the best. You're drafted number one consensus in fantasy football, and you just cannot stay on the field. He's back on the IR after dropping 3.5 points. And like you said, Shashot, it's been for me that way too. It's like I cannot have 1 week where I have all of my guys just in my lineup 100% healthy to see what the possibilities are. Looks like we'll never know. Looks like Josh Jacobs is officially my best running back, so pray for me. Christian McCaffrey, you are my dud. And good luck next year, bro. Like you said, I don't even know if he's worth a top 10 draft pick.
Yeah.
That's it. That's the studs
Waivers.
and duds. Yeah.
Waivers now.
Waivers, shove it. Give us the waivers. Who should people be picking up now that studs and duds are getting put on the fucking IR?
Yeah, given that Josh Jacobs is your best running back now, let me give you some running back options and maybe I can help you out here. So the first guy we've got here is Dontrell Hilliard, Titans running back. Saw a pretty good amount of carries, and so you talked about the fact that he's going to be in the passing downs as well. A good, I guess, handcuff to Foreman as well. Next guy is Jamal Williams. Swift got hurt on Thanksgiving Day. No Feast will probably get him come back from that injury. So Jamal Williams looks like should be the RB1. If anything changes, we'll definitely update that. The next guy is Boston Scott. And I didn't know Miles Sanders got injured. So this one's actually
Miles Sanders, he was out in the IR with a knee. With a knee injury. And then last game he sprained his ankle. So and ankle sprains come in all kinds of severities, and I think his was pretty minor, but you still need that Jordan Howard person to handle the bulk of the carries. And since Jordan Howard is still seriously hobbled, Boston Scott could very well have one of those 2 touchdowns, 16 rushes for 85-yard games, and you don't want that sitting on your bench. All signs point to Boston Scott having a great day this week.
Next, guys, we have Alexander Madison. So with Dalvin Cook hurt on that play that he fumbled the ball, had to get carted off. You're next. We've seen this play before. Alexander Madison has stepped up when Dalvin Cook has been out. So if he is available by any chance, you need to go out and grab him ASAP. And another guy to pick up because of injury is Chuba Hubbard. Due to the CMC injury, Christian McCaffrey injury, he's going to be the guy that is going to have to step up in lieu of CMC. Another guy, next 2 guys are from the same team, Tevin Coleman and Austin Walter. Both are Jets running back. Pick your poison, I guess. I mean, I'm still going to say Tevin Coleman, but you may want to kind of keep an eye on Austin Walter. He may be the guy there. The next position that I have is quarterback position. Is Daniel Jones. I forget who Daniel Jones is playing next week, but that should be a favorable matchup. Someone to kind of stream.
Dolphins. They're at the Dolphins.
There you go. Daniel Jones against the Dolphins, and also Taysom Hill looks like he'll be getting the starting role. The Simeon, I guess, experiment. Is coming to a halt. And Taysom Hill, due to his running abilities, could become a valuable start.
And they play the Cowboys. Go for it. Yeah, go ahead.
No, the only thing I'm saying is Taysom Hill got the first the starters reps today. That's what I'm going off of as far as he's starting. But the team hasn't announced they will start him. But you don't just give him just anybody first team reps and then not start him. So signs point towards Taysom Hill being a pretty good option. I think the floor is 20 if he gets to play. So definitely go grab him if you need a quarterback.
Yeah, I said, good matchup. Good matchup against the Cowboys. Their defense isn't very good, so that's a good spot for him.
I remember last year when Taysom Hill got the first start, he was actually eligible for a tight end start. I don't know if that's going to be the same case this year. At least it was for ESPN. But
it will not be.
That would be really nice if it was.
Yeah, he's only designated as a quarterback, unfortunately.
Okay. The last guy I have on here is due to the Darren Waller injury. We talked about the guy to pick up since Darren Waller's out is Foster Moreau. So if the game script is still give it to the tight end for the Derek Carrs and the Las Vegas Raiders, then Foster Moreau is the guy that you need to go out and grab as your tight end pick.
That's it. That's waivers.
That's all my waivers.
Yep.
That's all we got for you guys. Thanks for tuning in again to another episode of The Only Playbook. Again, this was episode 24. God, these episodes are racking up. I mean, I can't believe we're already 24 episodes in. Week 12 is officially going to be over here in about 13 minutes once Monday Night Football kicks off. But we'll be back to you guys this week. I guess since I'm going to be gone tomorrow, we can still do Thursday, depending on when you guys want to do it. We can do Wednesday or Thursday. So either Wednesday or Thursday, we got a big weekend in New York this weekend where we're all going to get wild. So maybe we'll talk more about it on the next episode before Friday rolls around. Again, appreciate you guys tuning in. Social media, give us a follow, give us a subscribe, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, all of the podcast applications. Appreciate all the support. We're The Only Playbook. We will see you guys next time.